Todd Tisdale had once hoped to make it big in the hockey world, but the scars from the alleged physical and sexual abuse he suffered while attending Notre Dame forced him to find another goal in life. Todd is now sharing his story in hopes it helps others who may be victims of abuse. He first spoke publicly in December 2021, and since then had many former schoolmates reach out to him.
A lot of stuff happened back in the 80s at Notre Dame there.
Former schoolmate Kenneth Wray attended Notre Dame from 1984 to 1987, and he claims the hazing started the first day, but they took it as normal behavior.
You had to do what an old boy told you, or else you would get beat up by several old boys.
It wasn't until Wray was in his 20s that he realized it was abuse.
There was a lot of stuff that happened there that just doesn't jive, and it's kind of screwed me up as an adult.
Another former hound, Rick Stoles, says everyone was hazed, and it's just how things were handled back then.
In Todd's defense, that year that he was there was an exceptionally bad year. They made a bad choice of a house leader, and there are a couple of old boys that probably shouldn't have been allowed to come back.
Someone who understands Todd's story is former NHLer Theo Fleury, who also experienced sexual abuse in hockey. He's been a good sounding board for Todd.
You're kind of taking a leap of faith and, putting your story out there. But, what I've learned and in my research is, this isn't an uncommon occurrence. This happens in every aspect of society.
Across the country is a former sports policy and politics professor at the University of Toronto, Peter Donnelly. His most recent work was focused on abuse in sports for children and adult athletes.
I think we could use alternative initiations. I think that would be really helpful.
Through an experiment at U of T, Donnelly found that when athletes and coaches participated in a preseason camp doing activities none of them are good at, it produced some bonding.
Some of the teams went ahead and held hazing ceremonies after the initiation ceremonies that were public, but they reported that the hazings were quite mild. That they were already bonded with the older players.
Todd never had any of that. And since then, Hockey Canada has developed a bullying, harassment, and abuse policy. It states there shall be no abuse and neglect, whether physical, emotional, or sexual, of any participant in any of its programs.